Ever wonder what really goes into protecting your money and data at a credit union? We're about to pull back the curtain. Welcome to another deep dive. Our mission, as always, is pretty straightforward. Cut through the complex stuff and make it clear, actionable understanding for you. Today, we're diving into the, let's say, intricate world of compliance for federally chartered credit unions. Specifically, we're looking at the Federal Credit Union Act, or FCUA. Our main guide for this journey is a very detailed document. It's called Federal Credit Union Act Compliance with Delinea Print.pdf. And it really digs into how modern tech, like privileged access management, PM, and identity security, are frankly essential for meeting all these rules. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. We're not just listing what credit unions have to do. We want to explore why it matters. For their operations, sure, but also for protecting your data and, ultimately for safeguarding your financial future. So let's start right at the beginning. What exactly is the Federal Credit Union Act? What was it originally trying to fix?
Well, the FCUA, it actually goes way back to 1934, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Its main goal was to set up a stable and sound financial system specifically for credit unions. It's administered by the National Credit Union Administration, the NCUA. Think of it like the foundational blueprint, how credit unions should operate to be safe places for people to save and borrow money. And it's not just the FCUA acting alone. Compliance kind of ripples outwards, touching on standards from other big acts like Gramm-Leach-Bliley, that's GLBA, the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA.
Ah, okay,
If
yeah.
you connect it to the bigger picture for the listener, it's really all about building a sort of fortress around your financial interests and your personal data.
A fortress. I like that image. Sounds like even back in 34, they were pretty forward thinking about needing to protect consumers, right?
Absolutely.
So, if the FCUA is the bedrock, let's climb up and look at the structure they build on top. The compliance side, it seems incredibly broad. What are some of the really critical areas these credit unions just have to get right?
You're right. It's an extensive plan. The sheer volume can seem a bit daunting. But the core insight, I think, is that it all boils down to ensuring transparency, trust, and security for you, the member. Every single rule, really, from how they get started their charter right through to their cybersecurity, it's all about making sure you can trust that your money and your data are safe. So first, let's talk about the very foundation, chartering and membership. Credit unions can't just be open to everyone. They have to define a clear field of membership. That could be community-based, like, everyone in a certain town, or maybe occupational employees of a specific company, for instance. And they've got to stick to strict NCUA-approved bylaws about who can join, ensuring fairness, non-discrimination, that kind of thing.
Right, so it's about serving a specific community, not just randomly signing people up. Makes sense for that cooperative model. Okay, what about how they actually run the show day to day?
Exactly. And that brings us neatly to governance and operations. This part is crucial for accountability. It demands active board oversight. Think monthly meetings, really detailed minutes being kept, careful oversight of loans, fidelity coverage, handling board vacancies properly. And on fidelity coverage, you can sort of imagine it like a mandatory insurance policy for key employees who handle funds.
Ah, okay.
It ensures there's a bond in place to protect against fraud. It's another layer of security, really, for your deposits. Next up is consumer protection. This is where a lot of those other federal acts we mentioned earlier really come into sharp focus. They form a kind of shield around your personal info and your financial dealings.
Right.
First, BSAML, that's the Bank Secrecy Act, and anti-money laundering. Credit unions need solid programs for what's called customer due diligence, or CDD, basically knowing who their customers are. It helps prevent illegal financial activities. They also file suspicious activity reports, SARs, and report cash transactions over $5,000. All designed to spot and stop financial crime.
Like financial detectives.
Kind of, yeah. Then there's FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This is all about accurate consumer data reporting. It includes something called the red flags rules, which are basically structured ways for credit unions to spot warning signs of identity theft.
Red flags. Like what?
Well, think of it like a checklist of suspicious activities, maybe a sudden change of address immediately followed by an unusual withdrawal request. That sort of thing triggers an alert, helping them protect your identity.
Gotcha.
Then GLBA Gramm-Leach-Bliley. This mandates comprehensive information security programs, privacy notices telling you clearly how your data is used, and strict limits on sharing your non-public personal information, or NPI. And finally, TLACOA, Truth in Lending and Equal Credit Opportunity Act. These ensure accurate loan disclosures so you know exactly what you're signing, and, crucially, non-discriminatory practices in lending and marketing, making sure everyone gets a fair shot.
Wow, that is That's a huge amount they have to cover, especially on the consumer protection side. They're like data guardians and detectives.
Hmm.
Okay, moving towards the money itself, how are their lending practices regulated? Any special rules there?
Oh, definitely, yes. Credit unions must have written lending policies that line up with NCUA rules. That includes specific limits on loans they make to insiders, like board members or top executives. Interest rates are capped, too, to prevent predatory lending. Generally, they can't go more than, I think it's 1% above the Fed's 90-day commercial paper discount rate. And importantly for you as a member, you're generally allowed to repay loans early without penalty. That's a big plus. Though, sometimes partial prepayments on mortgages might have specific rules.
That early repayment is a nice benefit.
It is. Then there's financial and risk management. You'll see those NCUSF signs everywhere, right? In ads, in the branch. That assures members their deposits are insured up to $250,000. They also need physical security programs, cameras, procedures to prevent robberies. And non-compliance there can actually bring daily fines. And a massive piece of this today, naturally, is information security, requiring strong cybersecurity programs, board oversight, incident response plans, all following the FFIEC Information Security Booklet guidance.
So not just physical security, but digital security is paramount now.
Absolutely. They have to be ready for cyber attacks, not just traditional bank robberies. And finally, for reporting and examinations, credit unions submit quarterly call reports using the NCUA's online system called Merit. These detail their financial health and compliance status. Their presidents also have to annually certify compliance with things like BSA and their security programs. And then the NCUA itself conducts regular exams. They assess financial stability, risk management, overall compliance, often zeroing in on hot topics like overdraft programs, fair lending, and definitely cybersecurity.
It's incredibly thorough, and it sounds like it's always changing, too. You mentioned some recent developments, like that ISO 2022 format. Is that a huge project for them, or just kind of a technical adjustment?
Oh, it's definitely more than just a tweak. It's a pretty significant system upgrade. And speaking of recent things, as of July 2025, the CFPB, that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they actually canceled a consent order with a credit union. It signals they're keeping a close eye on things like overdraft fees and fair lending. A clear message.
Regulators watching closely.
Exactly. Also, the Federal Reserve adopting ISO 2022 for payments by July 14, 2025. That's a big deal. It's a new global standard for electronic payment messages. Think of it like upgrading from, a basic text message to a rich email for banking data. It lets them handle much more detailed payment info.
Those system overhauls needed there.
Yes, requires system updates. And if you look at the NCUA's priorities for 2024, they specifically highlighted overdrafts, fair lending, and indirect auto lending. So that clearly shows where examiners are focusing their attention.
Okay, so with this mountain of rules and these big tech shifts happening, how do credit unions actually do all this? What's the technology that helps them build and maintain that digital fortress we talked about?
That's exactly where privileged access management PM and identity security really become, well, integral. They aren't just optional nice-to-haves anymore. They're absolutely essential for meeting those strict NCUA cybersecurity and access control requirements, especially under Part 748 regulations and the FFIEC guidance. They directly tackle the big risks: devastating data breaches, insider threats, unauthorized access. And doing that ensures compliance with GLBA, BSA, FCRA, the whole suite. So let's maybe break them down a bit. Privileged access management, PM. This is all about controlling and, importantly, monitoring access to critical systems by those privileged users.
The ones with the keys to the kingdom.
Exactly. Your IT admins, system architects, anyone with deep system access. PM enforces least privilege. Remember the mechanic analogy. Only getting the specific tools needed for one job, not the whole toolbox.
Right, I like that one.
That's what PAM does for IT systems, giving users just enough access to do their job and absolutely no more. It drastically cuts down the risk if an account is compromised. PM also logs all privileged activities, vital for NCUA exams, for audit trails. It creates this undeniable record of who did what when. It secures these powerful accounts to prevent fraud, which ties right back into those fidelity bond requirements we talked about earlier.
Ah, okay.
And crucially, it tightly controls vendor access, making sure outside contractors only get the temporary monitored access they need.
That least privilege concept really clicks with the toolbox analogy. Makes perfect sense. So what about identity security? How does that piece fit into protecting, my financial data?
Right. So identity security focuses on verifying and managing the identity of every user. That could be an employee, could be you as a member. The goal is to prevent unauthorized access right from the start. It's what implements things like multi-factor authentication, MFA. when your bank texts you a code to log in.
Yeah, all the time.
And single sign-on SSO, so employees don't need 100 different passwords for different systems. These are key FFIEC security standards. Identity security also automates provisioning and deprovisioning. Fancy words, but it just means when someone joins the credit union, their access is automatically set up. When they leave, it's automatically revoked, instantly.
So no lingering access for former employees.
Precisely. A huge security gap closed right there. It also helps secure the member identity verification process for that customer due diligence, or CDD, reducing fraud risk. And it prevents unauthorized access to consumer data, directly supporting those red flags rules for identity theft prevention. And when we talk about cybersecurity and NCUA examinations, PM and identity security together significantly boost a credit union's overall cybersecurity maturity. They tackle critical risks like credential theft, still a massive attack vector. They help detect and mitigate breaches faster, complying with NCUA's incident response rules.
Yeah.
And they protect against pervasive threats like ransomware and phishing, which, again, were major NCUA focus areas, especially in 2024.
That's a fantastic overview of the core tech. What's really interesting, I think, is how specific tools, like the ones from Delinea you mentioned in the source doc, can directly map onto these complex rules. For you, the member, this is how they actually build that fortress. Can you tell us a bit more about how a provider like Delinea specifically helps?
Absolutely. So Delinea is a leading provider in this space, PAM and identity security. They offer specific solutions like Secret Server for managing those privileged credentials securely. They have Privileged Behavior Analytics, or PBA, for spotting unusual activity, and broader identity security platforms really designed to meet these exact NCUA requirements head-on. So for access control specifically, Delinea's Secret Server, it vaults those privileged accounts, enforces MFA, uses role-based access control, RBAC. What that translates to is preventing unauthorized access to your member data. It helps ensure GLBA compliance, and it makes passing NCUA audits much easier because they can clearly demonstrate tight control.
Okay, so it ticks that box very directly.
Yes. Then for the overall information security program, Delinea offers privileged session monitoring, literally recording what privileged users do on critical systems, plus automated password rotation, risk-based authentication. These features really strengthen the security program with controls that are auditable. It aligns perfectly with FFIEC guidelines and board oversight needs. It adds robust security without tons of manual work.
That session recording sounds powerful for accountability.
It is. And for incident response, Delinea's PBA, that Privileged Behavior Analytics, is like having an AI watchdog. It learns normal user behavior and instantly flags anomalies. Like, say, an admin logging in at 3 a.m. from a country they've never logged in from before. That gets flagged immediately.
Right.
Combine that with the session recordings and integration with sign systems, those security monitoring platforms, it enables really rapid breach response, helps meet NCUA reporting rules, and minimizes the potential damage. In third-party risk management, their connection manager provides temporary audited access for vendors. And just-in-time, or JIT, provisioning reduces risk further. So when an outside vendor needs system access, they get exactly the access needed for exactly the time needed, and every single action is logged. Secure third-party access, and it complies with NCUA vendor oversight rules.
Very granular control there.
Very. For BSAML and identity verification, their identity governance tools, IGA, automate user management. MFA and SSO secure the member portals you log into. This directly supports the customer due diligence, helps prevent fraud by verifying identities, and provides essential audit trails for BSA compliance, all while hopefully making your login experience smoother.
Right, less friction but more security.
That's the goal. And for overall audit and examination readiness, Delinea provides comprehensive reporting, compliance dashboards, automated policy enforcement. The benefit: it really simplifies preparing for an NCUA audit, reduces potential negative findings, and it lets the credit union proactively demonstrate compliance instead of scrambling last minute. And lastly, regarding consumer protection GLBA, FCRA Delinea helps with data access governance, identity theft prevention features, and secure data sharing controls. This truly protects your non-public personal information, supports those red flags rules, and helps minimize the risk of CFPB enforcement actions against the credit union.
It's so clear how critical this technology layer is. It's like the hidden engine running the whole compliance machine, isn't it? So, practically speaking, what does this all mean for credit unions? What are the concrete steps they should take? And maybe more importantly, what happens if they don't get this right?
Yeah, good question. From a practical view, there are several best practices for using PM, identity security, and tools like Delinea's effectively for FCUA compliance. First, they really should implement a solid compliance management system, a CMS. Using Delinea's tools can help manage policies, track audits, facilitate staff training within that system. Regularly conducting risk assessments is key. Leveraging Delinea's risk-based authentication and PBA helps proactively spot vulnerabilities before they're exploited. Engaging board oversight is also vital. Presenting Delinea's compliance reports to the board meets FCUA governance rules and keeps leadership fully in the loop. So it's definitely not just an IT project, it's a strategic initiative involving leadership too. What else is critical on their checklist? Exactly right, they must audit regularly. Using Delinea's reporting features to constantly review access controls ensures they're always ready for an audit. Training staff is huge, educating employees about phishing, good password habits. Delinea might offer resources, but the credit union has to drive that training culture, because even the best tech can be bypassed by human error, right?
True. The weak link.
Often, yes. Continuous monitoring is essential. Using Delinea's session monitoring and analytics allows for real-time threat detection, spotting suspicious activity as it happens. And finally, they need to communicate with members, providing clear privacy notices, informing you of changes. It builds and maintains that crucial trust. Now, as for the consequences of getting it wrong, well, they can be quite severe. First, direct penalties. FCUA can impose fines that $100 per day for security violations is just one example, or other enforcement actions that really hit the credit union's operations and finances. Second, legal risks are substantial. Data breaches or consumer protection violations under GLBA or FCRA that can lead to expensive lawsuits or big fines from the CFPB. Huge reputational and financial hits.
Yeah, you hear about those big breach lawsuits.
Exactly. Third, severe reputational damage. A data breach just shreds member trust. And for a credit union, trust is everything. It can directly impact financial stability if members decide to leave. And finally, audit findings. If examiners find weak PAM or identity security controls, it results in mandatory corrective actions that disrupts operations, costs money to fix, and puts them under closer scrutiny. So practical implementation with Delinea would look like deploying PAM using Secret Server, secure those privileged accounts, enforce MFA right away. Adopting identity security means implementing their IGA and SSO for better user management and authentication for employees and members. Integrating these Delinea systems with their core banking platforms and their sign system is crucial. Creates a unified security view. Regularly auditing the configurations using Delinea's dashboards makes sure policies stay strong and haven't drifted. And finally, engaging experts. Whether it's Delinea's own support or specialized FCUA compliance consultants, getting expert guidance helps navigate all the complexities.
This deep dive really highlights how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? From laws drafted nearly a century ago to this incredibly sophisticated modern technology, all working hopefully together to protect you as a credit union member. We've taken what could be a really dense regulatory document and hopefully turned it into something much clearer, maybe more actionable for anyone needing to understand this space.
And I think it really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? In this increasingly digital world where our financial information is, well, constantly flowing, how much further do these regulations need to evolve to truly keep your sensitive data secure? And maybe more importantly, what role do you, the member, play in that evolution by demanding robust security from the institutions you trust with your money?
That is a really thought-provoking way to wrap things up. Definitely something for you to mull over. We absolutely encourage you to keep asking those questions, keep digging deeper, and keep that curiosity alive. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.